A little about Ron, though. Ron joined Epworth Villa as president and CEO in October of 2017. He spent nearly 30 years of experience serving in a faith-based non-for-profit life plan communities such as Epworth Villa. Before joining Epworth, he served as executive director of Presbyterian Village North in Dallas, 17 years with United Methodist affiliated Wesley Manor in Frankfort, Indiana, where he held roles as president and CEO and earlier as chief financial officer. Originally from Illinois, Ron has lived and worked in Indiana and Texas before making Oklahoma his home. He's happily married and has 5 children and 4 grandchildren. Ladies and gentlemen, Ron Kelly.
Thank you, Mike.
So this is my 31st year in senior living. I think everyone always has a story. What kind of was your story to get you into senior living?
Well, first of all, thank you for the opportunity to be able to share with you and for coming to Epworth today. It's a privilege to be able to have this opportunity. Thank you, Mike, as well, for helping to make this happen. So I actually got started in senior living through the help of a friend of mine who was a CEO of, actually was Wesley Manor, was the name of the community. And he recruited me as the chief financial officer. I was working as a CPA and also going to school part-time in a seminary. That's the reason we moved from Illinois to Indiana, was for the seminary that I was attending, kind of just seeking what God might have in store and thinking maybe even about being a pastor, that kind of thing. And anyway, God kind of moved us in a direction where this friend invited me to interview for this position, the CFO position, and that seemed like a really good way to sort of merge together my background in accounting and the business acumen that I had acquired with my desire for being in ministry and service. And so that's kind of how things got started.
And in doing that, we've got a lot of questions we're working on, but we thought we'd have a really good conversation. What was it about the industry that kind of grabbed you once you got into it?
Well, again, it being something that was faith-based, service-oriented, very ministry-oriented, that was something that meant a lot to me. And it kind of became a thread throughout my career, actually, for all 3 of the organizations that I've served in. And so being able to, when you're an accountant, sometimes the ability to have relationships and really get to know people is somewhat limited if you're behind a computer screen most of the time. So I enjoyed getting, still having some of that, but getting away from it as well. And just having relationships, being able to learn from those who had been through life ahead of me and to serve as well. There's great opportunity in a life plan community, lots of needs that are there as well, opportunities to support and help people as they're thriving. And I really felt like that was something that I could help and contribute and make a difference.
Yeah, this passion to serve, I think, when you've done this for a long time, that's the part that typically doesn't go away. Like you become this servant leader of not just the organization, but the residents and the team members and everyone that you work around as well.
Absolutely. And certainly being able to have teammates that share the same values, that really want to be a part of something bigger than themselves, and creating and being a part of a community like Epworth and previous ones as well, has definitely fit that bill.
So you bring up Epworth, you're down in Dallas, you're working in a community down there, you've raised your kids. What made you think this is my next stop? What brought you to Epworth Villa?
Well, we still had a few kids that were kind of at that high school level, just toward the end when 1 year of high school left, but ended up, I don't really know for sure exactly. I wasn't looking, or I was kind of enjoying life in Dallas. It was a metro area. We'd come from a fairly rural community. Frankfort, Indiana's got like 15,000 people, so it's not very large. Kind of close to Indianapolis, but not in really that area. And so I had a recruiter just called me one day, and normally I'm just sort of like, leave me alone, I've got a job to do. But for whatever reason, I listened that day. And it wasn't even a recruiter from Epworth, frankly. It was somebody else that had called, but it got the juices flowing a little bit and thinking a little bit and talking with my wife and praying about it. And she and I kind of worked out a deal that if I were to leave, we would stay within about a 3 or 4 hour radius of Dallas because we had kids that were kind of starting to settle in that area, and she didn't want to get too far away. And Oklahoma City was within that range, and I learned about Epworth in that process. And the more that I learned, the more I loved what Epworth had going on. This is a community that's had a long-standing time here now since 1990. Great reputation. Through some challenges. We'll probably talk about that in a little bit. But I really saw, and as I met the board and talked with them, just a really strong board committed to this organization, to this ministry, to this mission. Had been through some tough times, and so that really showed me they were willing to do the hard things, and that was the kind of group I wanted to work with.
Yeah, and we get to meet with them later today, don't we?
We do. We have a board meeting today.
Yeah.
Yes.
And so now that you've been here, as we talked about, over 5 years. What is it about Epworth that you think differentiates you all from the community or the market that we work in?
Mm-hmm. Well, I do think the faith-based, being a nonprofit organization as well is a differentiator. We are values-based, which means that our bottom line is more than just the financial side of it. Now, we do have to deal with the financial side. We got to be sustainable. We want our ministry to continue on into perpetuity, indefinitely. But people are a big part of our bottom line as well. We just measure the impact that we make on people's lives as our measure of success. And so I think that has been a differentiator for us. We have, you met our chaplain, Laura Glover. She's our senior chaplain. She also lives here at Epworth. And so that's been a part of our community. And we've really enjoyed having her here, and that connection with the United Methodist Church has been strong. Our board members, the majority of them are United Methodist as well. And so that gives us a really strong foundation that we can draw from when times do get a little tough. The dining experience that you folks have gotten a taste of today, I think is another differentiator for us. Jamie and his team have done a great job. We have a dining partner. Unidine is the name of our dining partner. And they have a fresh food pledge that they make that I think really adds a lot to the quality of the food that we enjoy together, and certainly enhances the fellowship and the community that we enjoy. Dining is a social experience as well. So that's a differentiator. We also have this relatively new relationship with OU Health, and they approached us a few years ago, and we started talking to them about having a clinic here. We had previously had a clinic, but with OU Health, they have geriatricians. They are specialized in caring for older adults. And so the physicians, the physician's assistants, the nurse practitioner, they are running this clinic now. And so they are available for our independent living residents. They also serve in our assisted living and in our healthcare area. And I have seen them in action, and they are outstanding, and we are very blessed. I don't know of anyone else that has that. So I would say that is a differentiator as
huge
well.
Differentiator for sure.
And one last thing that comes to mind, I really think that we do a great job of creating spaces, floor plans and whatnot for people that are very attractive. And, we're willing to try some new things to be able to cater to what we're hearing people are wanting and desiring. And I think we've had a creativity there that's been very effective here lately too.
Yeah, this is not the newest community on the block. Epworth has been here many, many years, over 3 decades. And so one of the things that we noticed as we started working with Epworth was this community has great bones. I mean, great size apartments, but maybe the way people look at apartments have changed over the years. So more of an open kitchen floor plan. We've taken 2 bedrooms, made them into large 1 bedrooms. We've taken a 2-bedroom, made a 1-bedroom den floor plan. So if you've toured here before, but it hasn't been the last year or so, this would be my plug for sure. So everyone listen.
Shameless.
It's very shameful. Come see us again. This is not the same Epworth you saw a couple of years ago. If you've never visited us, Laura's back here in the back somewhere, I believe. Laura in the back. There you go. You just schedule some time to meet with one of our sales counselors and see the community and see some of these changes with these floor plans. I mean, these touches we have. I mean, these residents, prospects would not be giving up anything to come here from an aesthetic standpoint.
Absolutely. I mean, I have seen, because my own parents now live here, I've seen firsthand kind of what that transition is like. And it did not take long before my parents were very protective about their apartment and wanting to stay there. So they have made that transition quite well.
So, we're talking about some of the differentiators. We all know that in the last 3 or 4 years that the world suffered the pandemic. And I look at the industry, because I travel over the country, I work with communities. And I think about trying to operate a community in a post-COVID environment. Can you speak to some of those challenges, and maybe from the standpoint of when that happened to where we are now with Epworth, and not just Epworth, but this industry in general?
Sure. It was a very challenging time, and it's something that lots of aspects of what we would have done had to change. We had a period of time where dining venues like this had to be closed down because we were trying to keep everybody safe. We did meal delivery, we did like to-go things where you would come and pick up food, but thankfully that didn't have to stay for a real long time, but there was a period there. And so that created some challenges. Obviously, our higher levels of care is where it really became a challenge because of the health being in more jeopardy for folks
Sure.
that are frailer. And so that, frankly, to this day, we continue to have some careful times when there is a little bit of a spike with COVID. But it definitely had an impact on the organization financially as well. We went through a period of time there where it was hard to do even tours or bringing people in for events. We have events like this are really helpful for us to introduce ourselves, to kind of keep everybody, aware of what we're about and getting to know us. And it's hard to do that when you're struggling with the whole COVID thing. So we had a season there that was pretty difficult for us, but we've been able to recover well. And I think it's been a good process for us to get out of that, but one that has shown a lot of strength for us.
Yeah, and you think about it, when the pandemic hit in March of 20, it's not like you budgeted financially for masks and gloves and all these extra expenses that you all would incur at a time when your budgets are worked out a year in advance.
Absolutely, yeah, and those are things, frankly, when in the grand scheme, was fairly minor compared to some of the other challenges, the staffing challenges that were created. I mean, we had difficulty finding staff after COVID that even wanted to work in a healthcare environment. There was a time when no one could find servers. You would go to restaurants and they wouldn't have their dining rooms open because they couldn't find servers because folks had kind of gotten away from that. So there was some real challenge there for a while, but we've, I think, recovered from that well.
Yeah. Do you think you've learned anything operations-wise you do differently, like maybe outdoor dining or different things, or things you want to implement because of what you learned from COVID?
What I think we really learned from COVID is the importance of community, because we saw the impact when there was some need for isolation, just how negatively that impacted people. And so that, more than anything, just reinforced, we've got to get together. We've got to make sure that we are creating opportunities for community. Now, you still have to be smart about it when there's a spike or something, especially if someone is starting to feel some symptoms. We say, stay at home and wear a mask and things of that nature. But seeing especially in the higher levels of care, where at the heart of it, it was really hard to get visits, that made a huge impact there for a while. So I was thankful to get past that.
Yeah, and financially, it had an impact on the community as well. And to how you want to speak to it, how do you think that impacted the community overall, and financially, what it kind of did for the community for a while?
So, when it comes to a life plan community, and I'll try not to get into the weeds too much, but as I think you may know, there are new residents that are coming in regularly that kind of help to keep the cash flow coming. And if that stops or slows down, it doesn't usually stop, but if it slows down, it can put a strain on your liquidity, your
Mhm.
cash balance. Every life plan community like Epworth really needs to have some cushion, some cash cushion, cash reserves, so that if an event like COVID comes around, or back 15, 20 years ago, there was a major recession that was related to the housing market. That also had a pretty big impact on life plan communities. And so you need to have that cushion. Well, because of COVID, really created a challenge for us with our liquidity. So we went through a refinancing of our debt, and we have lenders that we also refer to as bond holders. And so we worked with them, and they helped us to kind of restructure our debt. Unfortunately, we had to go through a pretty thorough and long process to make that happen. It has to do with municipal bonds. That's the kind of debt that we had. And it's not unusual. It's very common, actually, for communities like ours to have municipal bonds. But if you want to do a refinancing, it's difficult to get approval for it because you have hundreds of bondholders out there. So we had to seek the protection of a Chapter 11 in order for that bankruptcy court, to oversee that refinancing. And they did it. And we got approvals that we needed. They were able to kind of help us through that. And we got some additional bonds that we were able to issue to help us with capital projects to kind of keep things going. In fact, the projects have already started. We've got a major elevator project. We're adding an elevator on the east wing. Some of the things are not real flashy, frankly. It's plumbing and, things behind the scenes a little bit, but all important things, especially for a community that's 30 years old. Right. There are a few things we do need to keep up with. But thankfully, we had, about 10 years ago, a pretty thorough renovation and expansion to the community that really refreshed things then. And so we've been able to kind of keep building upon that.
I work in the industry across the country, and this leadership of this team here to get through some of the financial things that you all went through was exemplary. And again, it went longer than you probably expected, and not easy for you as a leader, but I think you all came back out on the other side in a really nice position.
We did. We were very grateful. The bondholder group that we worked with, they had gone through this with other communities because we weren't the only one that was impacted by COVID. And so they were very, very helpful, really, through the process, added some additional consultants. In fact, you came to us during that period of time. And you and your group had a great reputation nationally.
Wasn't me.
Well, I think it was, actually. You had a great reputation nationally. And when you came in, you had some new ideas, new ways of doing things that really helped us. So thank you very much.
Thank you. What are you most proud of in terms of being the CEO here at Epworth?
I think I am most proud of the fact that even though we do not claim to be perfect, we have values that we really do uphold. Mm-hmm. And we use those faith-based values to kind of guide us, the integrity, the quality, how you deal with people, how you treat people, the way you want to be treated. And so I think there's some transparency that, we've been able to have through that integrity, even going through some tough times. We're able to talk about that as much as the law allows us to, at least. And it's been, something I've been pretty proud of. Our board that also, they're volunteers that have been dedicated to Epworth for many, many years. They're the ones that really kind of uphold those values as the foundation, and the rest of us fall in line with them. Right. And so I'm really proud of that group. They have been through a lot and been through it in a way that has, I think, set us up for a great success in the future.
And what do you think that future looks like for Epworth?
I think it looks very bright, and there's a lot of reasons for that. You got to start though with the values and being committed to that and maintaining that. I think that will continue to guide us. But you just look at sort of the practical things. We're in a great market. It's the demographics are kind of in our favor. We all kind of know the baby boomer generation is growing in terms of its need for senior living, and so that's helpful to us. We have a great reputation. I think being around for 30 years has shown people that we're not going anywhere. We're going to be here for the long haul. And so there's a trust, there's a sense of belief in Epworth, in this community. And it goes both ways. I've been very impressed with how the Oklahoma City area has supported Epworth in all of its challenges over 30 years. And I think that's a real strength for us going forward that's going to help us to continue to succeed.